Way past strange. The Mystery of the Moving Coffins. In the Caribbean, there is a small island country to the east called Barbados. The exotic Barbados is filled with beautiful things and is a top tourist destination. But strange things can happen in even the nicest of places. In 18th century Barbados, there lived a wealthy family of planters by the name of Walrond. They built an impressive tomb, sealed with a massive marble door at the Christ Church Cemetery. The things that went on inside the tomb were super weird, and to this day remain a mystery. A member of the Walrond family, a lady by the name of Thomasina Goddard, was interred in the tomb in 1807. Remember this woman, because we'll get back to her later. By 1808, the tomb, or vault if you like, was taken over by the Chase family. They were also a family of slave-owning planters. The Chases put 2 daughters in there. Anne Maria Chase was only 2 years old when she died in 1808. Dorcas Chase was 12 when she died in 1812. Once again, it's important to state that the tomb was closed by a large and heavy marble door. It took about 6 to 7 men to move it. The tomb wasn't that easy to get into, and especially not easy to get into undetected. If someone was messing around the tomb, it would have been seen and reported by someone. At the very least, a break-in would be obvious. Keep all these facts in mind. On August 9th, 1812, not long after his daughter's death, the tomb was opened again for Colonel Thomas Chase. This is when the mystery really begins. When the tomb was opened, everyone saw that both of the girls' coffins, made of lead and very heavy, were standing on end and upside down. This was more than just a little peculiar. No one had broken in, but even if they did, it was a senseless crime, and nothing was missing. Why would anyone do such a thing, if anyone did? This surely couldn't have happened on its own, right? The coffin of Thomasina Goddard, made of wood, was still in its corner, naturally crumbling away. The Chase girls' coffins were properly placed again, and the tomb was closed. Despite this incredible strangeness, no one thought too much more about it. The Chase family sure had its share of misfortune. By 1816, the tomb was opened again for a male relative. Once inside, it was discovered that the Chase coffins had been disarranged again. Thomas's coffin was found to be leaning upright against a wall of the vault. Like the girls, this was made of heavy lead and, in fact, had taken 8 men to carry inside. If someone was going to play around with this coffin, it was going to take more than a few people. What was the significance of this strange act? There were questions that needed answers. By this point, the weird occurrences of the Chase tomb were spreading by word of mouth. Thomas and his daughters were put in their proper places again, and the tomb was sealed. What had just happened was now too weird to dismiss. It was no longer a one-off. Now the mystery of the moving coffins was legend. It was just 8 weeks later when another Chase relative had to be put inside. A crowd of onlookers showed up, expecting to see something odd. They weren't disappointed. The 4 Chase family coffins, previously interred, were once more in disarray. Once again, Thomasina Goddard, of the Walrond family, was in her proper place. After this last funeral, the governor of Barbados, a man by the name of Lord Combermere, stepped in. Rich people don't like their stuff getting messed up, and they had influence. so the governor was compelled to do something. In 1819, Combermere supervised the orderly restacking of the coffins. He then had seals put around the marble door slab. That should have done it, right? The next year, there were reports of noises coming from the tomb. Combermere revisited the site. The seals around the marble door were still intact. No one got into the tomb through there. That much was clear. Just the same, the governor went inside. Once again, all of the Chase family coffins, all made of lead, were in a jumble. Lead coffins were just not easy for people to move. How come this kept happening? Meanwhile, the wooden coffin of Thomasina Goddard was still unmoved. People tried to come up with explanations for this, but nothing fit the bill. It was thought that maybe the slaves were breaking in and moving the coffins around in an act of revenge. That idea was nixed because there was no trace of human activity in or out of the tomb. The floor was made of sand, so footprints would have been easy to detect. As far as natural acts went, nothing jived. There was no indication of flooding. If there was an earthquake, it wouldn't have just messed with the Chase tomb and avoided the other tombs nearby. Straight up, there wasn't any logical explanation presenting itself. By this point, playtime was over. People were getting scared. The tomb was immediately emptied of all its occupants. They were all buried separately in their own plots. After that point, the tomb remained empty. Litter would blow in through the bars of the door, but that's all that was allowed inside. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, was really into the paranormal and supernatural. This was already a very old story by Doyle's time, but he was fascinated by it. He commented that mystical forces were at work to protest the lead construction of the Chase family coffins. Lead prevented the speedy decay of the bodies inside, while Thomasina Goddard decayed in a more natural fashion due to her wooden coffin. Although Doyle's remarks came way after the fact, it has given us something to think about in the years since. Another idea that was kicked around was the fact that Thomas Chase and one of his daughters had committed suicide, and that their unnatural deaths made them unsettled in the afterlife. There was a lot of unhappiness in the Chase family. Most likely, the answer to the mystery lies within the Chases rather than the tomb itself. It would be interesting to learn what went on in the Chase household. So what is out there to substantiate this incredible story? The first published writing about it came out in 1833 and was written by General James Edward Alexander. The book was called Transatlantic Sketches. Alexander apparently got the story from Thomas H. Orderson, the rector of Christ Church. Orderson, in the early 1800s, would talk about the Chase Vault a number of times, but some historians have claimed that he gave conflicting accounts of the story. When it comes to unexplained things throughout history, a lot of people have lied in order to debunk certain stories. What Orderson did or didn't say about the Chase Vault is up for debate, but he seemed to inspire Alexander's report of the legend. There isn't a lot of hard, concrete evidence to prove this happened, but that, by no means, is to say it's a hoax. Photography wasn't invented at the time the Chase Vault legend happened. The whole idea of media coverage, as we know it today, was a long ways off. There were undoubtedly written accounts, but old newspapers, journals, and things like that have a way of disappearing over the years. There was, allegedly, a man by the name of Nathan Lucas who wrote a first-hand account of the last time the vault was opened in April 1820. It is very clear that something weird happened at the Chase Vault. The story has persisted over the years, so something is driving it. Also, we know that there is a Chase Vault and that it remains empty. Why would someone build an expensive tomb just to have it sit empty? It would make no sense if there wasn't something to this legend. No matter how you look at this story, or how you try to provide reason for it, there is no denying that it is way past strange.